Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. So today we're going to study one sentence from this book called The Nectar of Instruction. But that one sentence is so powerful that we'll be able to talk for 1 year about it. Of course, I'll try and make the lecture a little shorter than that. But that just shows the power of transcendental knowledge. This is not mundane knowledge. This is transcendental knowledge. It means that it's not something that was fashioned in the material world. It's come down from the spiritual world. Golokera, Premadana, Harinama, Sankirtan. In the same way that the Hare Krishna Mahamantra has come down from the spiritual world. When we say that someone is an avatar means that they have come down from the spiritual world to spread the gospel of Krishna consciousness. And the same way, the mantra comes down from the spiritual world. It's not something material. It was not fashioned by a material person. Okay, so by rendering transcendental service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. Now this is one sentence, but it's a very profound sentence. So let's repeat this. You can repeat after me, 1 second. By rendering transcendental service, to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. Okay. Now, what does this mean exactly? That means that if you come to the position of engaging in transcendental service to Krishna, let's first of all understand what is transcendental service and what is mundane service. Mundane service is serving our own material desires. Somebody wants a new car. Somebody wants to buy stocks. Somebody wants to buy a house. Somebody wants this. Somebody wants that. Those are mundane desires. They're not transcendental. Transcendental refers to things that are eternal, that have no beginning and no end. Mundane things are things that have a beginning and an end. Like, for example, my body and your bodies, they have a beginning and an end. But Krishna's body is a transcendental body. There's no beginning to his body and no end. And your soul and my soul also is transcendental. It has no beginning and no end. But right now, our souls, which have no beginning and no end, are covered by a body that is always changing and always has a beginning and an end. So the biggest mistake we can make in our life, and I'm going to have to say the truth, everybody makes this mistake, is to identify ourselves with the material body and ignore the fact that we have an eternal soul. This is the biggest mistake. And as soon as you accept your body as being who you are, you're going to be a failure, or we're going to be a failure in everything else we do, because everything else we do will have a beginning and an end. That's because we remain ignorant to the fact that we have an eternal soul that has no beginning and no end. So therefore, There's Sat and Asat. Sat is what is eternal, and Asat is what is not eternal. So devotees, the first thing we learn, and in order for it to really stay in our mind, we have to repeat it every day, is that we have an eternal body that's covered by a temporary body. It's just like I have these clothes on. Now, these clothes, they're just covering my body, and they have a beginning and an end. And my material body is the same thing. It's a material thing that's temporarily covering my body. It has a beginning and an end, but my soul is eternal. And the good news is that the soul also has an eternal body. So right now, we have two bodies. One is called the gross body, and the other is called the subtle body. But those two bodies are material. The gross body is made of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And the subtle body is made of mind, intelligence, and false ego. Therefore, our soul also has a body, but it is not material, it's transcendental. So, but it has these two coverings. Now, when you die, only your gross body dies, but your subtle body, which is material also, both the gross body and the subtle body are material, they're not spiritual. The subtle body, which is made up of the mind, intelligence, and false ego, it will carry us to our next gross body. Now, if we are fortunate enough, if you come enough to the temple and engage in devotional service, that makes you more fortunate. Your gross body and subtle body will become purified, and then they will start. Then your spiritual body will begin to manifest itself. And how does it manifest itself? It manifests itself when you begin to engage in devotional service. And when the devotional service is full time, 24 hours a day, thinking of Krishna, then your spiritual body manifests. And you no longer make any mistakes. You no longer are attracted to anything material. However, as long as we live in the material world, we're in contact with material things, like the material body. But we learn now, by purification, how to use material things in the service of Krishna. That's the beginning of spiritual life. Like, for example, let's say I have a knife. Now, if I use the knife to cut an apple into pieces and then offer it to Krishna, and then Krishna gives it back to me as prasad, and I eat it, that means the knife is doing something spiritual, and it's enabling me to cut pieces of the apple, offering it to Krishna, and then Krishna offers it back as his prasadam. So both I am benefited and the knife, because the knife is being used in the service of God. However, the same knife, if I use it to rob someone or kill someone, then I'm engaged in illegal or illicit activity, and the knife now is doing something that is very horrible. So we see the knife is not its fault. It's how the knife is being used. It can be used to kill someone, or it can be used to cut an apple or cut something, fruits or other things, and you can offer to Krishna. So the knife itself is not, let's say, at fault, but how it's used will determine whether it's good or bad. So therefore, we have to learn to make decisions that are always good. Now, what is a good decision? And what is a bad decision? Well, there's mundane good and transcendental good. Mundane good means that you live in the mode of sattva guna, or under the quality of goodness, where you don't eat meat, you don't gamble, you don't have illicit sex, you don't do, let's say, bad things. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no lying, no cheating, etc. So, therefore, you're living a sattvic life, and you might not go back to Godhead, but at least you get a better life in the next life. Maybe you'll go to Swarga, the higher material planets, and have a longer duration of life with a lot more happiness. To go back to the spiritual world with your spiritual body, you have to be completely engaged, or we have to be completely engaged in the service of Krishna. So, this is normal. Like, for example, you might have, let's say, you have two friends. One friend, both are good friends, but one friend is especially good. And you can completely trust that friend. You can almost immediately, let's say, know what and how your friend is going to act. And you have a second friend that you can't exactly predict what that second friend is going to do, because they have, let's say, vacillating or whimsical desires. So, in the same way, you can be a good person, but not necessarily a lover of God. So, you can be, when you die, you can be elevated to the higher planets in the material world, but you're still in the material world. It's called living in the Ferris wheel, let's say, under the influence of being good, you get elevated to the higher spiritual planets, but you're still in the material world. You're still subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. The only difference is your duration of life is much longer, and you're living in a much nicer place, like Swarga. There are much better planets, and you have a better body, and you have more, let's say, powers. Or you live a normal life, but not exceptionally spiritual. You could live on the earth, like here. Or you can have a bad life where you're engaged in a lot of sinful activity and eventually end up in Narak, or hell. However, because your soul is eternal, and this is a big difference between what I'm going to explain now. It's a major difference between Christianity and Krishna consciousness. In Christianity, first of all, they believe you only live once. And when you die, you're going to be judged. And if you are very sinful, you go to hell forever. And there's no way to change that. Whereas in Krishna consciousness, you understand that although your body is going to be subject to death, your soul is eternal. And secondly, if you have a bad life and you go to Narak, or hell, you can still be you can still be elevated to the spiritual world by giving up bad habits and becoming Krishna conscious. So therefore, great saints like Narada Muni, they go to hell. Not because they're sinful, but they go there and they preach and they help people who are in hell to come back to the material world, or the middle planets like we're on now, and have another chance at purifying themselves and eventually going back to Godhead. This is a major difference between Christian philosophy and Krishna conscious philosophy. the Christians, they have what you would call a catastrophic result. If you go to hell, that's it, you're done, you're finished. Either you're annihilated or you suffer forever, and there's no way of changing it. But in Krishna consciousness, even if you are a very sinful person and you go to Narak, you can be rehabilitated because the soul is eternal, it never dies. And if you take up Krishna consciousness, you can get purified and eventually have another chance of acting in Krishna consciousness and going back to Godhead. So there are many, many differences between Christianity and Judaism and Islam and Krishna consciousness. The Abrahamic religions, so that means Judaism, Christianity, Islam, all have this idea that once you go to hell, that's it, you're finished. There's no, either you die or you suffer forever. Whereas in the Vedic philosophy, the position of the soul is eternal. It never was created and it never is going to die because our soul is coming from Krishna himself. We're called part and parcel of the Lord. So even if you are very sinful and you have to suffer in Narak, you can still, by the mercy of pure devotee, have another chance and purify yourself through devotional service and eventually go back to Godhead. Whereas in the Abrahamic religions, once you go to hell, that's it, you're finished. There's no way of getting out of it. So it's very interesting to understand these differences. And also, in the Abrahamic religions, they believe, for the most part, you only live once. But in Krishna consciousness, we understand that we have a body. The body is always changing, but it's simply a covering of the eternal soul, which cannot be destroyed. But it can take different births and be covered with different bodies. And there are 8,400,000 different types of bodies. That means you could be born as an aquatic, meaning fish, you can be born as a mammal or as an insect, etc., or right up to human being, or even more than that, a devata. And if you become completely Krishna conscious, then you can be liberated from that whole cycle of birth and death and have an eternal spiritual body, and which will look very much like Krishna. The liberated souls in the spiritual world have bodies that look very, very much like Krishna. And you're liberated from the cycle of birth and death. And then you're engaged in transcendental activities that are full of bliss and knowledge. Okay, so this is very hard for people who have been taught Christianity or even Islam and Judaism. Those are called Abrahamic religions because although there are good things in those religions, but they're incomplete. If you talk about morality, the morality is the same, whether it's Krishna consciousness or it's Judaism or Christianity or Islam. It's the same thing. But when you talk about the soul and what is the final destination of the soul, there's going to be a lot of differences between the Abrahamic religions and Krishna consciousness. This is because in the Abrahamic religions, meaning, like I said, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, you do not have the what you would call completely pure devotees that have spoken the knowledge and the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. For example, you can be the best Christian in the world, if you follow Christianity, you're not forced to, but you can eat meat. And most Christians do eat meat. I was a Christian, and I was never told by my mother or father, don't eat meat. I used to eat meat. And I used to go to church every Sunday. It was only when I met the devotees that I learned that no, you should never do that. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and so forth. So the teachings that I got in Christianity were incomplete. And it's the same in Islam, and it's the same in Judaism. Now, when I was a young boy, in our house we had a maid. The maid, her name was, I forgot her name. Anyway, we had a maid, and she would often be there, ironing clothing, washing clothing, things like that. And one day, I was next to her when she was doing her work in her house, and I had a collection of butterflies that I caught, right? And then, of course, you kill them, and then I would pin them in a box on cardboard. And at one point, I said, her name was Winnie. So I asked Winnie. I said, Winnie, can you just hold these 2 pins on the so I can pin the butterfly exactly right? And she said, no, I can't do that. I said, why? She said, because I'm a Christian. I said, well, I'm a Christian also. Why you can't do it? She said, well, I'm a Christian, but I don't believe in perpetrating any violence, whether it's to a human being or even to a butterfly or an animal or to anyone or anything. Now, Winnie was just an ordinary lady, right? But she had advanced spiritual knowledge. Now, at the time, I was just surprised that she said, no, I can't help you because I'm a Christian, right? But later on, when he came back into my mind, I realized she had advanced spiritual knowledge. Now, how did she get that? Well, she was not a Hare Krishna, right? But she knew that it was sinful to kill or cause violence to anything or anyone. And she learned that as a Christian. So, here we have Christians today, they're eating meat, and they engage sometimes in illicit activities and so forth. But here was a lady who had higher order spiritual knowledge, but was just an ordinary lady, but she actually got this knowledge by praying. In Krishna consciousness, we always chant Hare Krishna. And she was a Catholic, and in Catholicism, you have to pray also on your rosary, just like we have bead bags. She had a rosary, and rosary is very much like our beads. And so we chant, on our beads, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Well, she had a rosary, and rosary is very similar to this. It's not made with tilak wood, but it's very similar. And she would pray on a rosary, right? Now, in the Middle East, you'll see the Muslims also, they have something like this. They're going, but they're not praying. They are. It's to soothe their nervousness that they finger the beads. They don't really pray. But in Christianity, they actually pray on the rosary. And of course, in Krishna consciousness, we pray on our beads, japa beads. So the fact that this lady, who was a Christian, she came to the understanding that she should not cause any harm to any living being. Now, that doesn't mean that she was a vegetarian, because because there are many Christians who are good people, but they eat meat. I'm not sure about Winnie, if she ate meat or not, but she definitely would not engage in anything that would cause harm to another living creature. So there is what you call very low-level knowledge, there's middle-level knowledge, there's high knowledge, and there's transcendental knowledge. So Winnie did have what you would call high-level knowledge, but she was not fully educated, but she was on a higher level than most people. And she learned that somehow through her religion and through her prayers, and she came to the understanding that one should not cause unnecessary harm to any living creature. Now, the idea is that in spiritual life, there are different levels of understanding. There's what you call Kanista Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. Now, the Kanista Adhikari is someone who follows spiritual activities and spiritual knowledge or rules and regulations, but they're not really fixed up. Sometimes they can whimsically stop following or not exactly follow correctly, and so forth. And their understanding of the philosophy is not very profound. And then that's the Kanista Adhikari. And then there's the Madhyama Adhikari. They understand the philosophy very well. They practice it very well. But sometimes they might have lapses of strictness of following and so forth. And they know the philosophy, but they still can learn more and achieve more understanding. And then there's Uttama Adhikari, who has complete knowledge of Krishna and how to serve the Lord, and never has any failure in following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. Now, those three levels of, let's say, achievement in spiritual life are based on how much a person has faith. Now we're going to come back to this sentence where it says, by rendering transcendental service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. Subsidiary activities means chanting Hare Krishna, going on parikrama, worshipping the deities, being a vegetarian, bathing regularly, waking up early in the morning. These are subsidiary activities that support positive activities in Krishna consciousness that helps you maintain your position as a devotee in good standing. However, if it's done not only mechanically, but it's also done with love and devotion, then it's transcendental. But the same thing can be done mechanically, where you do it out of practice rather than out of conviction and love. So it's still good that someone may do it out of practice, but they have not yet achieved transcendental Krishna consciousness because they haven't achieved real love and devotion for the Lord. They do it by habit. They've been trained to do this by their parents, and they continue to do it throughout life. And they might have lapses where, they might maybe eat meat or drink wine or something like that. So we see that there are good people that may have some bad habits, and there are transcendentally situated people who don't have any bad habits, who only have good habits, and because they've actually achieved a level of love and devotion for Krishna. They actually believe that this is not an idol, this is actually Krishna on the altar. And they treat Krishna as a real person. Radha and Krishna, and Sita and Rama, and Lakshmana and Hanuman, and so forth. So to come to that point where you actually treat the deity as the Lord himself, that depends on the consciousness that we have. If we actually love Krishna, then when we're doing arti or when we're going to the supermarket or whatever, we're always thinking about Krishna. And if we don't actually love Krishna, then when we're doing the arti, we're thinking about how much money we're going to make, or we're thinking about what we're going to do tomorrow and go to a party or this or that. So you cannot read the consciousness of a person or understand the consciousness of a person simply by watching them in their activities, especially professional activities, like being a pujari. A pujari is worshiping the deity every day. Now, when the pujari is doing arti to the deity, what is the pujari thinking about? Well, we don't have a microscope, or we don't have any way of knowing what the person is thinking about. But if that pujari is regularly serving, is never late, is always clean, and is always goes not part way, but does more than is required, then you have a good indication that that person loves the deity and is treating the deity as a real person and not just as an idol. So the consciousness is what is the, let's say, the plane on which we can understand if a person is real or not real. And consciousness, by being conscious and having actual love for the deity, one will sacrifice everything for the pleasure of Radha and Krishna, or Sita and Ram. So this complete immersion, this complete dedication is understood when a person is steady. You can predict what they're going to do all day long, because that's their life. They're worshiping the deity in the morning, the afternoon, and the evening. And they're doing things that are more than, let's say, more than they should do. They're doing extra things out of love and devotion. And they're making, they're sacrificing everything in their life for the pleasure of the deity. So when a person reaches that height of spiritual immersion and spiritual activities and love for the Lord, they are on a transcendental plane. They're no longer in the material world. Yes, they're acting in the material world, but their whole life is focused on how to please Radha and Krishna and help other people also understand the glories of the divine couple and their pastimes, etc. So this is what we're teaching in this temple. We can take anyone. We can even take the worst person in the world and turn them into the best person. Or we can make a person who is Adama into a person who is Uttama by practice of Krishna consciousness. And that is what spiritual life is. It's a transformative experience by which even the worst person in the world can become the best person in the world. And that's what we want. We want to see people get out of the crutches, or the you could say the prison of lust, anger, and greed, and transform lust, anger, and greed into love and happiness and what you would say is benevolence. So that transformation can be done very quickly if we take up the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. The Hare Krishna mantra puts you directly in contact with Krishna himself, because Krishna is a transcendental person. And everything about him is transcendental, including his name. So when a person takes up Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, you are associating with God. You don't have to go to Jerusalem, or you don't have to go to India, or you don't have to go here, you don't have to go there. You don't even have to come to the temple. You're associating with God directly by chanting His name. And the more you chant, the more you feel the presence of Krishna. And as you feel the presence of Krishna, the more Krishna will help you make the right decisions in your life, not to go back to a mundane life, and to always be engaged in transcendental activities. So transcendental activities are called sat. They have eternal benefit. And non-transcendental activities are asat. They are temporary, and they begin and they end, and you end up with nothing. Just like, let's say, you were born in a rich family, and then as you get older and older, you spent all that money, and now you're poor. So you were rich at one time, and now you're poor. You lost all the money. In the same way, you might be born in a good family, you might be practicing all good things, and then, oh my God, you go to college, or you go to high school and then college, and now you don't believe in God anymore, and you stop doing all those good things, and you end up being a very miserable person by eating meat and gambling and engaging in all kinds of bad activities. So what we need to do is, the number one important thing is to have sadhu sangha, the association of good devotees. If you associate with good devotees, you will also become a good devotee. And if you associate with half good devotees, you'll become a half good devotee. And if you associate with non-devotees, you'll become a non-devotee. Everything depends on who your friends are. Tell me who your friends are. I can tell you who you are. Right? So if we choose on a consecutive way, day after day, to associate with genuine devotees, we will become genuine devotees also. So that's the most important decision you have to make in your life, who you're going to associate with. It's just like when you come to the television, or you come to your cell phone, you have to make a decision. Should I turn on the Super Bowl, or should I hear the lecture that's being on the air now? So these are decisions you have to make. Should I always be involved in things that are Krishna conscious, or should I be halfway, a little bit of Krishna consciousness, a little bit of nonsense, or should I be complete nonsense? So these are decisions that we have to make, and if we make the right decision, you go back to Godhead. And if you make the half decision, well, you might go to Swarga and have a better material life, but you're still subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. So we can explain these things, but whether you understand it or not, that's what counts. If you come to the temple, this is what we're going to talk about. And sometimes people have said, oh, I don't want to hear Hari Vilas's lecture. He always says the same thing, chant Hare Krishna. And don't eat meat, and don't have illicit sex. Well, yeah, these are the reasons why people suffer. And our disease is we forget easily. Like today, you're hearing all these things. Tomorrow morning, your whole mind can be in a completely different world, thinking completely differently. And so when you come back next week, you say, oh my God, I forgot all this stuff. Now I'm hearing it again. And that's why we highly recommend that you chant Hare Krishna every day. And eventually, if you can get to the point to do 16 rounds a day, you will never forget Krishna. So what does that mean, 16 rounds? Well, on these beads, you have 108 beads. And if you chant Hare Krishna, on the first bead, it's Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So there's 108 of these beads, When you go all the way around chanting the mantra on each bead, that's one round. And that means you have chanted 1,700 names of the Lord. And we do minimum 16 rounds a day so that we don't forget Krishna. Now, you can get to be really good at doing this and finish all your rounds in 2 hours or an hour and a half. It depends how fast you chant and how seriously you chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Now, chanting these rounds, yeah, you can do it mechanically, or you can also do it with love and devotion for Krishna. Even if it's mechanical, it's still beneficial. But eventually, by coming to the classes and hearing more about who Krishna is and Krishna's transcendental activities, eventually it develops into love. It's just like if you hear every day about, let's say, a politician, eventually you might decide to vote for that person, right? Because you keep hearing about, oh, he did this and he did that. So in the same way, if you hear about Krishna on a regular basis, you can develop more and more knowledge of who Krishna is, and if you chant Hare Krishna, then eventually you develop love for Krishna, and you can't stop chanting because you understand that Krishna is absolute and transcendental. Therefore, when you chant his name sincerely, you are associating directly with God. Even if you don't understand that, you're still associating with God because the name of Krishna and Krishna are non-different. So we highly recommend this mantra Hare Krishna. It's called the Maha Mantra, the great mantra for liberation from the cycle of birth and death. So when you take up this chanting of Hare Krishna, as it says, by rendering transcendental service to Krishna, and the number one service you can do is chanting, right? One automatically performs all subsidiary activities, such as yoga, such as meditation, such as going on parikrama, such as all these subsidiary activities are also accomplished by what? By rendering transcendental service. And the number one service is chanting, Shravanam. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Chanting and hearing about Krishna. Now you are directly associating with God on a regular basis, and Krishna will protect you. Krishna will give you intelligence to make the right decisions in life because he's in your heart. All knowledge that you have is coming from Krishna, who's in the heart. So when you have a pure consciousness by chanting the names of the Lord and learning about Krishna and all his pastimes and engaging in service such as cooking for Krishna, offering the food to Krishna, receiving it back as Krishna's prasadam or mercy, and eating the prasadam with reverence. Now, day by day, you become more and more purified, and eventually, you can never forget Krishna. And at the moment of death, you will remember Krishna, and you go back to Godhead. So this is what we're teaching. We're teaching how to become immortal. Now, we are immortal, but because of bad decisions that we make in our life, because of bad company or bad association, we're going through the process of birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death. But we can stop that now by taking up seriously chanting the names of the Lord and coming regularly to the temple, associating with devotees, and engaging in devotional service. You can stop that vicious cycle of birth and death and go back to Godhead, where there's no more birth and death, in a spiritual body that does not have to pay taxes, you don't have to worry about neighbors or passing a test or this or that, because you have developed love for Krishna, and Krishna becomes your protector and your most dearest person. But actually, He is the dearest person because he's in the heart of every living entity. No one else is closer to you than Krishna. He's in your heart. And if you begin to understand this, you're not going to be afraid anymore or doubtful or lonely. By the way, there is an epidemic of loneliness in the United States. Many people are lonely in this country. And how can you say that? Well, you read the newspaper. They're writing about it all the time now. It's considered a sort of epidemic in these Western countries, an epidemic of loneliness. That's called Maya, or illusion. How can you be lonely when God is present in your heart? He's the closest person with you, and he's never separated from you. Well, it's based on ignorance. Just like there might be a person who is very poor, and eventually he doesn't have money even to eat anything. But one day he decides to put on some older pants that he hasn't worn for some time, and when he puts his hand in his pocket, there's a $10 bill. Now, he didn't know he had that $10 bill. Now he discovered it. And now he's happy because he can use that money to buy something. So in the same way, if a person who's lonely, it's because they don't have any knowledge of who Krishna is and how to connect with Krishna. Although Krishna is in their heart, he's the closest person that is with us. There's no one else closer to us than him. But because we don't have knowledge of him, we actually feel lonely. We actually feel, oh, nobody likes me, etc. So even kids nowadays, they sometimes commit suicide because they're lonely, because they feel that others are ignoring them. But actually, once you develop knowledge of Krishna, you can never be lonely. You can never be alone, because the Lord is there in your heart. And he's the closest person to us. And the way to connect with him is to chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So take up this chanting of Hare Krishna. And as Prabhupada said, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Now, do you actually get happy? When I first started chanting Hare Krishna, I was willing to try it out to see, where it goes. But the more I chanted, the happier I became. I actually felt happiness by chanting. And, although it seems like, you have to chant 16 rounds a day, it takes so much time. But when I got regulated in my eating and sleeping by going to bed early and waking up early, I looked forward to chanting early in the morning. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, what does this mantra mean? Hare is referring to Srimati Radharani. And Krishna, of course, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Rama is another name of Krishna because he is the reservoir of all pleasure. You can also refer to Rama as Lord Rama. So here we are, these three words, Hare, Krishna, and Rama. And when you put them together, you get the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Oh dear Radharani, the most merciful, merciful God, and oh dear Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and oh Rama, the reservoir of all pleasure, which is another name of Krishna. Please protect me so that I can always be your servant. So that's the meaning of the mantra. You're not asking for money, you're not asking for anything material. You just want the Lord to protect you so that you can always continue chanting and acting in devotional service. If you chant sincerely, that's exactly what's going to happen. The Lord will protect you. You'll be able to engage in devotional service, in the association of good devotees. You'll have a very good life, and you'll be able to remember Krishna at the moment of death. If you ignore that, ignore Krishna, then what's going to happen? I can tell you, there was this one man, he was always buying stock in Calcutta Steel Company in India. And he became a crorepati. You know, he became very rich and kept buying more and more Calcutta Steel. What do you call those? In other words, he became a rich man by buying their stocks. So, as time went on, he got older and older. And now he was on his deathbed, and all his sons and daughters and family were around him. And all of a sudden, he made some motion, and everyone said, "Oh, Pitaji wants to say something." And he said, "Monday, buy Calcutta Steel stock," and he died. And see, that was his whole life. Calcutta Steel, Calcutta Steel, Calcutta Steel, right? He would talk about it. He would write about it. He would buy the stocks. He would keep buying the stocks. He became, a millionaire, right? And the last words that he said to his sons and daughters and his wife is, "Monday morning, buy Calcutta Steel." Now, is that a life? That's not really a life, right? It's all based on money. And the worst thing for a rich person is to become poor. They'll commit suicide, or they'll kill someone, or they'll go crazy, just because of paper. Money is nothing more than paper, right? And in World War I, after World War I, the people in Germany had to take a wheelbarrow full of German money to buy just one loaf of bread. Wheelbarrows you can carry, maybe 100 pounds. They had to use a wheelbarrow filled with German dollars or whatever to buy a loaf of bread. So you see, sometimes you hear, well, the dollar went down, and or the dollar is losing its value, and pretty soon the international money will be the yen, So everyone gets all scared and upset, because now the dollar is not the universal currency; it's the yen. And pretty soon you're going to have to learn the Chinese, because they're taking over the world. So you see, this is all nonsense. It's based on materialism. When you come to Krishna consciousness, or when you associate with the right people, you take up a spiritual life. And when you have a spiritual life, you're no longer a victim of anxiety and fear. You develop confidence that the Lord is the supreme personality of Godhead. He's the richest person in the world. He's not going to let you down. You might not be a millionaire, but you will always be able to raise your family, give your kids a good education, and live a decent life. And basically, that was India for millions of years. And even many of you have experienced this, where your parents or your grandparents were not really rich, but they were honest people, they were hardworking people. They didn't make a lot of money like you are now, but yet they were able to raise their kids and feed their kids and so forth. So we have to understand that living a spiritual sattvic life is something that is most appreciated, because you give the greatest gift to your children and to other people that you know, how to develop love of God and go back to Godhead, not simply how to eat every day and make a lot of money. So we should focus on how to love God, serve God, and teach that to our children also, so they can go back to Godhead in this lifetime and be eternally liberated from the cycle of birth and death. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Om Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. If you have any questions, you can ask them now. Any questions that you may have? Yes, sir.
Can I ask you one? Say in the Bible when we are reading, I think it is telling a lot of things which the human beings, if we, the human beings, if we strictly follow that, the world will be so peaceful.
Yeah.
That's what in the Bible it is. So I read Bible for the first time just to criticize the Christians. That was my objective.
And then the Bible convinced you not to do that.
Yes. And the second time I was reading to understand, and third time when I was reading the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, I could understand a lot. When I'm seeing here our Krishna consciousness, I'm seeing a lot of similarities, but the one step ahead in our side is spiritual.
The one what?
Spiritual, more spirituality. That is what we are talking about in our Krishna consciousness. Whereas in the Bible, how as a great person you can live. And Jesus, one of the devotees of, you can say, it is a great prophet. And he himself said so many things and he lived up to that with his words. So that is...
So he was a devotee.
Yes, he is. That
Yeah.
he himself. I'm not doing my will, but the one who sent me forth. Not in one place, many places he has repeatedly said.
Well, look, we don't say that Jesus was not a devotee. In fact, my name in my language means the resurrection of Jesus. So my name is Hampartsum in Armenian. But there's some things that are not complete in Christianity. Like most Christians eat meat. They talk about mercy, they talk about love, but yet they pay someone to slit the throat of a cow and they eat the meat. Muslims do the same thing. So, although there are many good things in Islam, and Christianity, and Judaism, there are some things that are missing. And therefore, you have, let's say, World War I and World War II. In both wars, Christians were fighting against Christians and killing each other. Although they were both Christians. The Germans were Christians, the Allies, most of them were Christians, you see. And today, you have the Jews and the Muslims killing each other. Now, they're both from the same family, Abraham, right? The Jews have their original father is Abraham, and the Muslims, the original father is Abraham also. So they're actually from the same family. The mothers are different, but the father is the same. But yet they're killing each other. So you see there's something missing. There's a lot of good things, but there's still something missing. Krishna consciousness gives you the whole enchilada, as they say. You know what an enchilada is?
When it comes to
It's a Mexican...
I agree. Whatever you said is great.
Yeah.
When it comes to meat eating, it's clearly stated in Bible, very clearly.
Where?
Bible, I can bring the...
No, it's who is clearly...
In Bible.
Oh, in the Bible. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
in the Bible it clearly says how to slaughter an animal and how to eat. Even a single drop of blood should enter into a human body. That's
And
very
that,
clearly
by the way, that's impossible. The Bible says that you can eat meat, but not one drop of blood. That is impossible.
It is possible. That
Which
is
looks like, for example,
also.
there are many rules of how to eat meat in
Yes.
Judaism. Christianity, they dropped all the rules, but in Judaism, it's very strict. But there's not one rule about how to eat an apple. So now, no, but wait a minute, let me finish, then you can go ahead. You say, why is there no rule about how to eat an apple, and there's, 10, 15, 20 rules about how to eat meat? Because there's something wrong with eating meat, but there's nothing wrong with eating an apple.
Yes,
So,
correct.
go ahead.
But same thing in our Bhagavad Gita, or even the Lord Krishna's conversation and his birth till his death, whatever is there,
Yeah.
whatever the Bhagavatam what we read, nowhere, said we should not eat meat.
No,
Very
that's
clear.
wrong. That's not right.
Yes, Prabhu. I with your blessings, I have read Bhagavad Gita as well as.
I'll show you.
Nowhere it is written.
In fact, I think I did this. We had this discussion before. I'll show you where it says you should not eat meat.
Yes, Prabhu. If you
Okay.
show
Well, I'll
me-
show you after.
Yes,
You know.
yes, yes, please. I will wait and
Okay.
today I will
Yeah.
wait and
Don't run away. Okay. Yes, sir.
I would like to ask regarding chapter 7, Adhyay 7. In that, Lord Krishna is saying, "O Arjuna, you surrender to me with your full consciousness. I will take your sins, I will take your sufferings, I will take everything of whatever the pain, despair in your life." It means like that. So still,
This is 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita.
then when we surrender to the
Yeah.
Lord Krishna, still mankind is suffering from pain, mankind is suffering from dissatisfaction.
No, well, wait a minute. Those are the people who haven't surrendered. But there are people who have surrendered, and they are having a good life. The people that haven't surrendered, they're the ones that are killing each other, you see. You know what? Who organizes a war? Wars are organized by Krishna himself, so that the demons come and kill each other off, you see. Anyone who has common sense said, wait a minute, we're not going to get anywhere by killing other people. Let's talk, let's see the similarities that we have. So most wars are for money and power, not because of love of God. There's no such thing as a religious war. They say that, but it's all based on property, it's all based on money, it's all based on power. Okay? So the people that are killing each other are the ones that don't follow the instructions of the Bible or the instructions of Krishna consciousness. Go ahead. You finished? Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? So let's look at it like this. It makes sense not to harm any living being, whether it's an ant or an elephant. It makes sense. Why? Because you have a family. The ant has a family. The elephant has a family. The fish have families, you see. They're all living entities. And there's very little difference between us and the animals. The only difference is the animals cannot actually understand who God is, but a human being can. That's the only difference. Otherwise, everything else is the same. Now, if eating, sleeping, mating, and defending is the symptom of an animal, and what are you going to do with a human being who only eats, sleeps, mates, and defends, and has no interest in Krishna? That person is an animal. And they're susceptible of committing all kinds of sinful activities because they don't have any relationship with God. And most people just eat, sleep, mate, and defend. They don't actually come to the temple or go to church. There are people that go to church, but a lot of people don't. And therefore, they're living like animals. So when you deal with an animal, especially wild animals, they don't feel any remorse by killing. Now, for a tiger, he's allowed to kill. That's the law of God. But as a human being, thou shalt not kill. It's right there in the Bible, right in the beginning. You see. So we need to wake up and not act like animals, but act like real human beings. A human being has mercy. A human being has self-control. A human being tries to understand his or her relationship with Krishna or God. That's what we're teaching here. Try to understand our relationship with God. And here, you can see God right now. You can see Krishna. It's not that, how can I do that? I can't see God. Well, you just come here and look at the deities. Now you're looking at the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna has absolute power, so he can enter into the deity and be present. So, therefore, the real word for philosophy is darshan. In English, we say philosophy, the love of the truth. But in Sanskrit, we don't use the word darshan. We use the word darshan, how to see correctly. So when you look at the deity, if you have material desires, you see only a statue. But when you have love for Krishna, when you see Krishna's form here, you worship him as God himself. And he's present in the deity. So these things cannot be understood by people that eat meat, that have illicit sex, that gamble, that are always interested in making more money, more money, more money, more money, more money. They're not interested. For them, it's a waste of time coming to the temple and listening to these lectures and chanting and feasting and so forth. But for people who are serious about having a genuine spiritual life and being able to teach their children also about genuine spirituality and love of God, they can understand this. So therefore, it's not surprising that millions and millions of people are not interested in spirituality. But the people that are interested in spirituality, they'll never let go of it because they know that life is miserable without a relationship with God. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll stop right there. Thank you very much. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama Rama
Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Jagannatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Sitaram Jaya Lakshman Hanuman
Hanuman
Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha
Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha
Jaya Radha Nilmadhav Radhe
Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radhe
Jaya Radha Nilmadhav Radhe
Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radhe
Namaste Narasimhaya
Namaste Narasimhaya
Namaste Narasimhaya
O Namaste Narasimhaya
Praladadai प्रह्लादलाददायिने
प्रह्लादलाददायिने
हिरण्यकशिपुर्वक्षः
हिरण्यकाशिपुर्वक्षः
हिरण्यकशिपुर्वक्षः
हिरण्यकाशिपुर्वक्षः
शिलटङ्कानकालये
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 इतो नरसिंहा परतो नरसिंहा
इतो नरसिंहा परतो नरसिंहा
इतो नरसिंहा परतो नरसिंहा
इतो नरसिंहा परतो नरसिंहा
यतो यतो यामि ततो 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 नरसिंहा
बहे नरसिंहा हृदय नरसिंहा
बाहे नरसिंहा हृदये नरसिंहा
बहे नरसिंहा हृदय नरसिंहा
बाहे नरसिंहा हृदये नरसिंहा
नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे
नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये
नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे
नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये
तव कर कमलबरे नकाम् अद्भुत सिंहा दलितालिरनकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवदेता नरहरिरूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
कर कमलवरे नकाम् अद्भुत शृङ्गा ललिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवधृता नरहरिरूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
जय केशवधृता नरहरिरूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
जय केशवधृता नरहरिरूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
जय नरसिंहदेव 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 जय नरसिंहदेव
जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव
जय नर हरे नर हरे नर हरे जय नर हरे
जय नर हरे नर हरे नर हरे जय नर हरे
जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह
जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह
जय प्रह्लाद महाराज जय प्रह्लाद महाराज प्रह्लाद महाराज जय भक्त प्रह्लाद
जय प्रह्लाद महाराज जय भक्त प्रह्लाद प्रहलाद महाराज जय भक्त प्रहलाद
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद
जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद
नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल
जय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल जय गौर हरि बोल
ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत गोस्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, नमाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री वेद गिरिधर शिवास्ति गौर भक्तवृंद की जय, श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोराध की जय, श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय, मयूर धाम की जय, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, गंगा माया की जय, जमुना माया की जय, समवेद भक्तवृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jay. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Vituri Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Devi Sesa Sujivadi Praskatya Desatari.
Hare Krishna. Loudly. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. That's right. So, we have today's feast sponsors. The Sunday feast sponsors are Ramaraghav Prabhu and family on the occasion of son Guru Charan's 18th birthday. Hare Krishna. Is he here? Guru Charan? No. Okay. Aravind Santanam, Bhavana and Omendra family, Aparna Lakshman, and Meena Karta on the occasion of daughter Sanvika Nayar's birthday. Is Sanvika here? Hari Bol. So the feast sponsorship is an occasion where you can sponsor, which we use this money for sponsoring the feast, not only here, even for our free food truck that goes on multiple days to various places in Seattle area. So we are actually directly contributing for this free food program. It is not free food, actually free prasadam. So what we offer here, that's what everyone gets an opportunity to taste it. So please do consider, for any occasion, you could actually sponsor. We can take the names at the welcome desk downstairs. And a couple of announcements. As you know, the new Center Bellevue, Vedic Culture Center Bellevue, has opened on January 27th. Now the center is open on weekdays from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. in the evening. And during weekends, Saturday and Sunday, it opens from 9 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. It closes. So please go take darshan of Lord Balaji there and invite your friends and families. And if you would like to, if you are close to the temple and you would like to volunteer, please let us know. And two more events are, one is vocal concert, Carnatic vocal concert by Vidushi Dr. Pantula Rama. She is actually going to perform on March 2nd, 4 p.m. Saturday at Bellevue Temple, the Vedic Culture Center Bellevue. And it's a ticketed event for a small donation. So please do sign up and buy the tickets, whatever you need, how many you need. It will be the new temple. And the biggest festival of the year is coming, outdoor festival, is the Holi, the festival of colors. How many of you heard about it? Festival of colors. Okay, and how many of you been to last year? Good. Now it's time to tell everyone the fun which you had and the great prasadam you had there. So it's going to come back again in a bigger scale. This time in Merrimore Park, we are actually doing a bigger scale now, because last year we could not accommodate and people could not get into the park. So now this year we are making streamlined effort. You can actually book your spot and it will cost you less if you book in advance. So book your spot, the parking spot, buy your colors so you will easily get in and get out and have much more time in actually spending the event than opposed to spending in the traffic. So please do go to our Festival of Colors color website, and then you can actually purchase colors as well as the parking pass which is needed to enter into Merrimore Park. So with that, thank you. We can Kirtan. Haribo.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming tonight. If anybody would like to continue discussing Krishna consciousness or have any questions, you can talk to me in the library. I'll be there for a little while tonight. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah, two. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava ki Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama